to President Obama. Republican Congressman Steve King is leading that effort, and he joins me now. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to see you. Thank you, Nora.
Why do you want to declare victory in Iraq? Isn't that a little premature?
Well, I think first it's careful how we define it. The Pelosi Congress set 18 benchmarks to be achieved in Iraq, and I think they thought that they were impossible to achieve. But today, they've been completely or substantially successful in 17 of the 18 benchmarks. Our American casualties there since June 30th, we've lost more Americans due to accidents than we have the enemy. And there's 90% fewer civilian deaths in Iraq and 98% fewer ethno-sectarian deaths in Iraq. This measure goes on, so by any objective measure, there is a definable victory that's been achieved. And I don't think this is time to have a celebration, but it's a time to be able to put a marker down and recognize that President Obama has now given the order that we're going to deploy troops out of there. That may be a good tactical decision, but he also has a responsibility to maintain what's been achieved at such a high price.
But Congressman, isn't this really, I mean, you're trying to declare victory. A lot of people say what you're trying to do is do another mission accomplished too. Hearkening back to what President Bush was made fun of doing. I mean, isn't this piece of legislation really just sort of a silly way to try and trap the president and try and make him responsible, solely responsible for what happens in Iraq in the future?
Part of your question I'll agree with, but I want to be careful that this is not mission accomplished too. The question about it is now President Obama's responsibility to maintain the achievements. I think that it's appropriate for Congress to make that statement. But he has
Why isn't it mission accomplished too? I mean, you want to declare victory, and we've still got over 100,000 troops in Iraq. I mean, with all due respect, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, when you say due respect, I know that that's a clause in there I have to recognize too, but I have in the resolution carefully, it says definable victory. Congress defined what that was. The Pelosi Congress defined what that was. That has been achieved. They've defined it. The Democrat Congress has defined it. President Obama has said that he's inherited a $1 trillion deficit. Well, he's also inherited a substantial accomplishment in Iraq. It is a definable victory. It is a fragile victory, and it must be maintained. So if he's going to push the blame off if the economy collapses on his predecessor, he has to also accept that his predecessor has handed him something in Iraq that's worth achieving and maintaining, and I think he's got an obligation to maintain it. And that's what we're asking. And we pledge also in the resolution to work with President Obama to be able to maintain what's been achieved and expand upon it. And we'll stand with him in Afghanistan, too, because we think he's right, at least to this point.
Congressman, I want to ask you, of course, your party has been very critical of the president for signing this 410 omnibus spending bill because it has a number of earmarks in it. One of them includes $1.6 million for researching pig odor for Iowa. You're from Iowa. Do we need to spend $1.6 million to research pig odor?
That really puts me on the spot. I represent the #1 pork-producing district in America out of all 435, and I think we can do that research some other way. It's funny that one would come up. That's not my earmark, and I think there are about 8,999 others there. But I recognize that if we could hold this budget down and not grow government, we don't need that either.
Why do you need to research pig odor? I mean, you can't make it go away. It's just going to exist, right?
Well, actually, we can make it go away to a significant way, and we've made a lot of improvement on it. So
how do you do that?
By putting additives in the feed or additives in the manure, and by injecting it into the soil rather than on top, and by planting trees around any lagoons that exist, and by storing the balance of it in the tanks. No, I do know about that, and there's progress that has been made. We'll make a little more.
And Congressman, I have learned something new today. You're a good man for teaching us all, and there you go. I mean, one man's earmark and one congressman's earmark is another important project in their district.
But of course, that one's not my earmark, but I still
I know it's not. It's Senator Tom Harkins. I understand. It's Senator Tom Harkins. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.